Hello Asa, happy Friday morning, or as I record this Thursday night. I hope you are having a great time at college. I hope you're enjoying your first classes, and I hope that your next video addresses that a little bit, or if not that one, the one that comes out next Wednesday. But for my sake, since college is boring and mundane at this point, I will be showing off a new camera I've gained ownership of. You may remember from some of my old videos or seeing me in person, because I'm very annoying about it, that I've been using this Kodak Pony 135 camera for the last year or so, experimenting with film and developing it myself and having a lot of fun with that. And my biggest gripe with this camera has always been is that you can see that this viewfinder here is its own assembly. So you're not actually seeing what's coming through the lens, you're just seeing the general area that the lens sees. And now why that's a problem is it makes it very hard to focus on things because you kind of have to guesstimate, okay, how far away is that? And then you have to set it to the dial, and just sometimes it's not in focus. I did some cleaning work on it and it kind of made that funky, and I need to reassess it. Regardless, I wanted to upgrade to a camera that would let me see the shot I'm composing. It'd let me see the focus, so I could try and compose and do some close-up shots. And I've been trying to take more photography of friends because seeing photos of your friends turn magic-like from a bunch of chemical baths and scanning it onto your computer, it's a lot more fun. And while it's the last year of college, I want to remember that stuff more. So I wanted a camera that would be easier to focus on people with. And people are generally a lot closer than just going, oh wow, look at the forest, that's infinitely far away, set it to infinity. I recently bought from a former college yearbook photographer in Pennsylvania an Olympus OM-1, and this is, frankly, I think, a beautiful camera. It is nearly completely mechanical, and what a little electronics there are completely analog. Considering I am into film photography almost more for the old tech side of it than the taking good pictures side of it, perfect camera for me. Pro tip, if you're trying to find and buy cameras on eBay, be a little bit patient and look for people who are clearly getting rid of their own stock instead of people who are like, oh, someone donated this camera, or I bought it at an estate sale and I'm trying to resell it. Try and find a person who's like, yeah, I'm cleaning out my closet and this is a camera I used to have. I'm assuming those people are going to get fewer and fewer between as we move into the future, but that's my tip. Let's look at the camera. You've seen my face before. Let's look at this guy. So here is the Olympus OM-1 without its front lens. For scale, a quarter. Don't know if you need a scale. I also got hands, but what does this baby got? Well, up top, we're going to be most of the controls. This is a film rewind, so you can take the film back after you've taken pictures with it. Also, it pops up and that opens the back so you can put film in. Here you've got a nice on-off switch for the light meter, which I will show off in more detail later. Here you've got your film speed selector, so basically different films will be more or less sensitive to light, and this setting tells the camera how sensitive your film is, so that way the light sensor works better. Here you've got your shutter button, and here you've got your film advance. So you'll take a picture, the film is, thing right there, and you need to move it over here and have a new blank section arrive. So you go like that to advance it, and then click that to take a photo. Up front, we just got two more controls. We've got a rewind thing here, so when you're done with the roll, you can click that, and that'll let you start taking it up. And here we actually have a timer that can go for a few seconds before it takes the photo, so you can leave it and run away and be in the photo, which is kind of cool. As you've seen, there's no lens on this camera. In fact, right now you can kind of well see into the mirror there that goes up through this grate and ends up going up and through this rectangular housing and to the viewport. It's actually really cool because when you take a photo, that mirror raises up and exposes the film to the light coming in from the lens. Here's a slow motion shot I took earlier of that. If we want to use the camera to take actual photos, we've got a couple lens options. This is, well, we're just going to read it because I forget if it's 50 or 55 millimeter. It's a 50 millimeter focal length G Zuiko lens. I don't know, man. It's the standard one that came with this camera. And it's got the standard settings on it. It's got aperture and it's got focus. So focus obviously will tell you how far away is something in focus. And these things, like on the Pony, let you know that the smaller your aperture, the longer that field of focus is, and gives you an idea of what that range is. Of course, this is a lot less necessary now that you can focus looking through the viewfinder, but still nice to have. Here you've got your aperture setting, which basically decides how much the lens constricts light coming in. Now, in order to get a good view through the viewfinder, fully open all the time unless you want to take a picture. But there's a button here that if you press, it'll show you what the aperture actually looks like. So we can go all the way from 16 up to, well, 1.4. And basically each one will double how much light makes it through the lens. And it's just very cool. And the focus will basically move it in and out a bit. Twists on. Quite frankly, I'm very impressed with how secure that feels. In terms of mechanical connections, both of these parts are heavy, so it's nice to know they're connected pretty well. And then here you can see built into the camera itself are shutter speed options. So bulb is exposure as long as you hold it down. Then you've got 1/1 of a second, or 1 second, 1/2 of a second, 1/4 of a second, and hopefully you can see pretty easily how it goes up the line, up to 1/1000th of a second, which is, I think the Pony went up to 1/200th of a second, so a great improvement. The fun thing about this camera is the viewfinder. I've teased it before, and well, here you can't quite see much, but I'll cut to some shots I did earlier looking through the camera. So here's the view through the viewfinder. I've got the camera pointed out my window. You can see that I can focus both on the menagerie of stuff on my windowsill, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from the camera in this shot. And then I can also focus out to infinity. Here we see a skyscraper off pretty well into the distance. And you will have to excuse the atmosphere, the haze. It was a lot of fires that day. But this lens, in fact, is not the only lens that came with the camera. No. This lens, you can see, is a lot bigger. You can see here that does the standard goes from infinity up to, I don't know, maybe 3/4, 2/3 of a foot. And it's also got its aperture ring here. But it also does this. It changes its focal length. So our other camera lens was at 50. So this was the focal length. This is now equivalent to the old lens. But we can in fact zoom it to a smaller focal length or a larger focal length. And this will let us zoom in and out on objects. And of course, each of these have their own kind of adjusted focal distances. Again, not the biggest concern since it's an SLR camera, but nice to have nonetheless. Now the funky thing about this is you can, if you notice, see that this part is moving up and down as I rotate it left and right. I'm not moving it at all. I'm just twisting this with no lateral force. So what this lens does is not only can you set the focal distance, but it will also preserve that focal distance for different focuses, which is it's a non-linear task, so it's kind of interesting. But it's very cool and very fun, and maybe one day I'll do a video just about this lens if I ever go on a Wikipedia deep dive on how all that works. But it's very cool. And to show off it, I've got some formerly recorded video through the viewfinder using this lens, showing its zoom and its focusing, yada, yada, yada. Again, we can see out my apartment window. We've got a candle and whatnot on the windowsill coming into focus now. Then pretty soon here comes the fun part, which is zooming in. This allows me to get much better views of things that are far away. If I'm looking for a specific thing, I don't know why I'm explaining zoom. You know how it works. But this is very cool and a good step up from the Pony camera. But Asa, as if that was not enough, I also got this guy. This is another lens that sits in the camera on this end, and on this side accepts one of the lenses we were looking at. And what this does is it doubles the focal distance of those lenses, essentially allowing you to zoom in even farther. This guy clips into the camera. And now, this end, you can put a lens in it. This really just adds versatility and expands the use of both of these lenses, which is very fun and cool, I think, and it is a neat addition to have. So while these lenses are adjustable and malleable and workable, this guy doesn't adjust, but it basically changes the range that the other two lenses can adjust over. These are basically just little zoom lenses that sit on the front of other lenses and allow you to take pictures of stuff real up close. Using the standard lens, one of those magnifying lenses, and also the 2x focal distance thingamabob, I got this close-up shot of a coaster on my desk. In terms of other things, they start getting a bit less and less cool for a video. I still find them cool. One of the cool things is an original manual is just chock full of information and no QR codes. I'm an old man, I like that. Also included is a flash. I have not used it. I have not tried it. That will be its own experience. Fun fact slash interesting if you're looking at this video to contemplate this camera, although I recommend some better videos that are already out there. This camera was made in an era when we used mercury batteries that ran at 1.35 volts. Turns out, no longer make them because mercury is very bad to throw away. So I had to get these specific zinc air batteries that are usually used for hearing aids. And the reason we need those batteries is in the bottom left. So hopefully you just noticed the needle jump all the way down to all the way up, and that is actually a light meter that tells us how much light we're getting on our film. And we can get the needle to move by changing both how big the aperture is and for how long we let the shutter be open every time we take a photo. And you can see it dancing up and down just a little bit here as I try and mess with it and play around with it. It's pretty hard on a sunny day to get it to go too low. It's hard to underexpose, but this does in fact give me another advantage and another little indication of how well a photo will turn out before I take it. And another way we can show it working is that by blocking the camera with my fingers. If you notice the little circle thing in the middle, that's actually the area that's detecting how much light there is. We can see the needle bob up and down, reflecting the fact I'm blocking some of the sunlight. Anyways, that is my new Olympus M1 and all of the fun lenses and toys that come with it. I hope you've enjoyed this video a little bit at least. I know I enjoyed making it. Great way to start figuring out what do each of these different things do. The next few days here, I will be getting a chance to use it and develop some pictures from it. So I hope that I can make a good video based on that, or even a couple of them. And we can start to figure out how good this camera is and the kind of processes you have to go through to get photos out of it. Hey, so I can't wait to see the video you make for tomorrow. And, well, as they say, I'll see you on Saturday.